Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So if you've been following the story last few days, guys, this viral AI video has been going viral, like I said, and already has had millions and millions of views. And this tells a story in about 40 seconds. And as a summary, basically, Trump has been trying to organize meetings with Iran or the next round of negotiations, and Iran did not turn up. And instead of going through his threats, because he's been sending a lot of emails and not emails, tweets, and he's been sending a lot of tweets saying he's going to obliterate Iran, he's going to destroy the civilization, he's going to bomb power plants, and all these threats he was making online. But the Iranians were not scared. They did not, give in, and they did not turn up. But at one point, the Iranians were prepared to turn up. Because if you remember Friday, there has been a lot of significant movement going on Friday, and a lot of things were agreed last Friday. And then Iranians opened up the Hormuz Strait. Just shortly, they opened it up. And this was confirmed by the foreign minister. Marandi even said it, and Arakchi also said it as well. So something behind the scenes was agreed. However, since the agreement was made, Trump went on Truth Social, on his social media, and started blabbering nonsense. He started talking about how Iran's agreed for the uranium to be shipped to United States. Iran's agreed that they're going to stop giving money to kind of Hezbollah and the Houthis and also to Hamas. And he said that Iranians have agreed to open up the Strait of Hormuz with no tolls. He also said that the Iranians have agreed to, all of his demands, almost like Iran has surrendered and given all of their demands to United States and Israel and got nothing in return. And then Trump also said that the blockade will stay. And this is the blockade that America is doing on top of Iran's blockade. So basically, any ships that go through the Iranian Hormuz Strait will get stopped by America. And so far, they've stopped two ships that were going and coming from China, basically. So overall, as a summary, Trump's threats has not worked. And as a result of all of his tweets, the Iranians changed their minds, and the IRGC immediately shut down the Hormuz Strait, and they ordered no more negotiations with America because you cannot negotiate with this man, guys. Whatever you agree with him, he will go back to his Truth Social or social media and start spurting out lies after lies after lies. Somebody needs to take away the social media from him. Somebody needs to just ban him from social media because it's causing a lot of damage to the Americans. So after his tweets, the Iranians changed their minds and they decided not to kind of do any sort of negotiation with America because they don't trust them. And any agreement they make, they will be kind of overruled by President Trump, and he will just throw it away, depending on the mood that he's in the next morning. So rightly, the IRGC didn't turn up. They also didn't allow any representatives to go to Pakistan. And instead of Trump going through his threats of bombing Iran, he came up with an excuse saying Pakistan told him blah, blah, blah. The Iranian leadership is basically confused and all that stuff. And then he said he's going to indefinitely increase the ceasefire. And he didn't give a deadline, but in some tweets that he sent today, he said he's going to give them 4 or 5 days or something. So this is a prime minister. Oh, so this is a president who's basically sending out tweets based on his feelings, destroying any agreements that are taking place between America and Iran. He doesn't care. At the end of the day, he reports to obviously Israel and the people who run Israel, and that's the work he's doing for them. He doesn't want to hear anything. He doesn't want to do any sorts of negotiations with Iran. He's not taking it seriously at all. So here's the thing, guys. When the JCPOA was negotiated between Iran and United States, do you know how long it took? It took over 2 years to negotiate that JCPOA. So a lot of hard work has gone into that JCPOA. And then Trump comes in and he just tears it up like it's nothing. And now Trump wants to negotiate another JCPOA. He says a better one with Iran, but it's not going to work. It's going to, whatever he negotiates with Iran, it's going to be much, much worse. Much, much worse than the JCPOA. Because Iran's not going to give up its uranium. Iran's not going to give up its holes in the Hormuz Strait. Iran's not going to give up funding its allies. Iran's not going to give up a lot of things. They're not going to give up their missile program, for example. And he alone, Trump has made Iran much, much stronger by his actions. If he left everything as it was with the JCPOA, if he didn't tear it up, there would be no war, and nothing would have changed basically. And because he tore it up, Iran was forced to basically trade more with China, with Russia, instead of the West. So they were forced to, go to China, go to Russia, make deals with them, get, Chinese weapons, get, Russian weapons. They had to swap their navigation systems from GPS to Chinese Beidou. And all this drone technology they've got from Russia, all this radar and other technologies they got from China. All of this stuff would have not been in there if that JCPOA was in place, because that JCPOA meant that Iran got rid of the sanctions and they can trade with the West with no issues. They can sell oil to the West. They can use dollars. And all of that basically disappeared after Trump decided to tear it up. And now Iran was forced to use other currencies, the yuan especially. And what did they use the yuan with? The Chinese yuan. They use it to buy stuff from China. They will buy whatever they want from China. They will buy weapons. They will buy technology. Um, they'll buy Chinese bonds. It really doesn't matter. The fact is, they're trading their oil and gas in Chinese yuan, and now they're forcing other countries to trade in Chinese yuan as well, because they don't want dollars at all. Because if they have dollars, um, then the Americans can sanction it, can steal it away from you. I think there's about $20 billion which they've stolen from Iran, oil money. And when the sanctions were lifted, $20 billion were owed to Iran for selling oil. So these basically funds get stuck in other central banks around the world, because when you trade, obviously, that's what you do. You just trade with other central banks, and some money is owed, or the money you have when you do transactions, and and Americans can easily seize it. So this is why they don't trust the dollar anymore. They will use the Chinese yuan, and they also use crypto as well, and maybe other currencies like the Russian ruble, maybe their own, Iranian rial, and that's it. That's it. The fact of the matter is, America has lost this war, guys. They have lost everything, all their everything that they wanted when they initially started this war with Iran. They've achieved nothing. So these were the main goals. President Trump says the first thing is get rid of Iranian nuclear program. That's failed. You know, Iranians still have got their nuclear program, and it's deep underground, so they failed to destroy it. And this war is going to push Iran to go even further down. And I bet right now they are building, deeper and deeper bunkers and more secret bunkers all across Iran, because Iran is full of mountains. So they are building lots of new nuclear bunkers deep underground, and they're going to be, doing more nuclear testing underneath those mountains because they want to diversify what they have. And if they can keep the uranium in different sites, and it's going to be absolutely impossible for America to take it away from them. It's not just kept in I think it's called Natas or Nantaz. Um, can't do the actual spelling, guys. Sorry, but it's they think it's all kept in there, but I doubt it. The Iranians know not to leave all of their uranium in one site. Plus, also you have to understand that the Iranians also have the knowledge to purify more uranium. So if they have the knowledge, they can easily purify uranium up to 90% in any of the sites. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in Nantaz. It can be. They can replicate that and put it in other sites underneath mountains. So the knowledge is always going to be there. You cannot blow away knowledge. Once you know how to do something, and if that knowledge gets shared with different scientists, then you might be able to kill one scientist, you might be able to kill one site, but that knowledge is still there. Other scientists can carry on with the work, and you can rebuild another site with the same specification, and the work will carry on. They can never ever bomb away somebody's knowledge. It's absolutely impossible. So that's failed. They failed to destroy Iranian missile program. In fact, Iranian missile program has got more stronger because they had this war to basically test Iranian missiles, technology, and because of all these missiles that they've tested on real targets, they will have learned a lot from them, and they will also be improving on them as well. Because I'm sure a lot of them were failed or didn't work as expected, so they're going to be working on them, making them better, faster, more effective, and that's just going to make Iran stronger. Their drone program's going to get stronger as well because of it, because their drone programs, you know, is going to get even better now that they've tested their the drone programs and drones all across the Middle East. So that's going to get stronger. Iran as a nation is going to get stronger because this war has given Iranians a big boost. When you win a war against America and Israel, it really does galvanize the people in Iran. It really pushes you. It brings up the morale. Everybody has got huge amounts of pride and dignity, and because of that, more people work harder and try harder. So all the kids growing up in Iran right now, they're all going to be really proud. And they're going to be want to be successful and make Iran even stronger. So a lot of these kids are going to grow up, learning, seeing how they won against America, and they're going to grow up and they're going to want to become even better. So Iran as a nation will get stronger. They're going to get huge amounts of money from the Strait of Hormuz as well. They're going to make up to 500 million a day, maybe sometimes even more. And yeah, so they're going to rebuild the country, and they're going to build more underground missile sites, I believe. They're going to rebuild their military, buy brand new military as well, because there's still a lot of stuff that Iran needs in terms of its military. They still don't have an air force, so they will need to get a brand new air force. Maybe brand new jets from China, from even Russia. They can get it, so they've got mix of Chinese and Russian planes. Um, they also need, more of a navy. At the moment, they've got enough of a navy. What they have are small ships with missiles, and that's enough for them to close the Hormuz Strait. But I think going forward, they need to have a proper navy and maybe more subs, more of these advanced drone ships, so they can, operate them remotely. There- There's a lot that Iran can still do, and obviously they'll need to restock on their missiles as well because they've used a lot of their missiles, so they're going to have to restock, and they're going to have to also rebuild the country as well. I think with the money they're going to make from the Hormuz Strait, and plus, this new lease of life that Iran is going to get, I believe the economy will, change over the next 10 years. I believe they're going to be a real superpower in the region. They're going to be selling oil and gas, getting transfer fees, toll fees in the Hormuz Strait, and their economy is going to improve, and they're going to be making money through other ways in the economy as well. Plus, they got a population of 90, I think 90 million, and soon it's going to hit 100 million. And when you have a population of 100 million, your economy is going to be always good. There's always going to be people um, that have consumption needs, and plus people are going to get richer as well. So as the economy improves in Iran, these 100 million people are going to get richer, and the country is going to improve as a result. And plus, obviously, they'll need to trade more with China. All the sanctions that they've had from the West, they can get everything from China, the same way Russia has as well. And they'll need to basically focus on China's goods and services, just like Russia has done. And they need to replace all Western products with Chinese products, and they'll be good. They'll be good for it. And the main thing is they'll need to trade with currencies outside the dollar, which gives them sovereignty. If you use the dollar, you are basically trapped. And there's a story I heard that United States has stopped giving money to Iraq because when Iraq sells its oil, they have to sell it in dollars, and these dollars are stored in the United States, and the money is given to Iraq basically by the United States, and they have to approve, how much cash they give to Iraq. But right now they've stopped giving it to Iraq because they don't like the leadership. So you see, it's like gangster style of democracy. Iraq doesn't really have a sovereignty anymore because it's all controlled by America's money. So I think going forward, what Iraq needs to do is stop trading in dollars, start trading in different currencies, get their sovereignty back, start making money in Chinese yuan, and all that money that America has got. Basically, what they need to do is get that money back somehow, or if they don't give it back, then start destroying all the US bases in Iraq. Just say, you know what? All the US bases and interest in Iraq are going to be disappearing if you don't give us that money back. If they don't give it back, you know, who cares, right? As long as Iraq has got its sovereignty, they can start trading oil in yuan and they can have money in their pockets, then that should be fine, rather than living the rest of their lives, being controlled by America telling them how much money they should be given, how much, they basically control. It's like um, it's like if you're in a relationship and your partner basically has all the money, they control you, they control where you go, who you see, you literally have no control. Um, and yeah, nobody wants to live like that, guys. Anyway, so let's move on to the next story. President Trump has been asking for the nuclear codes, and the general military chief basically refused him. And he refused him because he doesn't think Iran is a threat, and also using nuclear against Iran could set a huge precedence around the world, and which could be very detrimental to the United States. So, you know, if America starts using nuclear weapons on Iran, then Russia can start using it against Ukraine. And if they have a war with China in the future, China will change its nuclear stance, because at the moment, China has no first use of its nuclear weapons. So if America starts using it first, then China will immediately change that no first use, and they will basically change it to, can be used, in terms of in an emergency. Because if America can start dropping bombs in Iran, they can drop bombs in any country, and China needs to protect itself. And yeah, so if and other countries can start using it as well, this will basically set a new precedence around the world, and it's not going to be good for the United States. And also, it's also going to push every single country to go nuclear, because this means that, if America can start using nuclear weapons, then as a country, you need to start protecting yourself. And you might be friends with the United States now, but tomorrow you might not be, and they might drop a nuke on you. So every single country will basically leave you know, the nuclear proliferation treaty, and they will start building their own nukes. And that's not going to be good for world peace or good for the world. So Trump is basically absolutely crazy to ask for the nuclear codes and drop it. Luckily, in America, the president alone doesn't have the power to drop nuclear weapons. It has to be agreed by the generals. And also, you know, President Trump doesn't have full control over what happens in America, because there are bosses on top of him that make the real decisions in America. So the decisions, like telling Trump to do the tariffs, and then remember when he did a tackle on the tariffs. Basically, he had a phone call from his bosses saying, "All right, you need to tackle because we're losing money in the markets. It's not going the way we wanted, so you need to tackle." Same way, he's tackling now from Iran. So these people who are his bosses, I mean, who knows who these bosses are, but it sounds like these are, diehard Zionists, or absolute trillionaires, which have loads of money and power, and they pretty much tell him what to do. And I believe they actually make the full decisions. So Trump might not be able to have the full power to drop nuclear bombs anyway. And the fact that a general can say no to him just tells you everything that you need to know, that America doesn't have the full rights or power to do whatever the hell they want. And it's similar to what happened in China as well, because there was a time when Truman was president, and it was a role reversal. It was the general that wanted to drop nukes. It was General MacArthur, and Truman overruled him because he wasn't sure if the Soviets would drop nukes on America, because at that time, the Soviets and China were close, and they were fighting in North Korea together. And, and so you see, I think it's dangerous for Trump, who thinks, he's like a god. He thinks he's like a god or Jesus, and I know this because he's been sending out all these images of him looking like Jesus and looking like God, and he thinks he's some sort of messenger in the world. He can do whatever the hell he wants. But it's very, very dangerous. Some people say that he's gone mad, and I agree with him. I agree with them. I think he's absolutely gone crazy. He's like the emperor with no clothes. I think people around him are scared to tell him the truth. Those familiar with the Emperor with No Clothes story will know that Trump doesn't like people telling him the truth. He only likes yes men. He wants people to worship him, and that's the problem. There's nobody in his administration who can argue with him or tell him no, apart from this general. So kudos to this general. Obviously, he's been very, very brave. But I've seen today that there's been some resignations of generals as well around. The chief of staff got resigned or was asked to leave. So there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. Anyway, guys, I just want to also say that this war, I don't think it's over. I think I think they're having a rest at the moment. I think Iran has refused to negotiate with the United States, but things might change over the next few days. I think America will also have to give concessions to Iran, and Iran doesn't need to make any concessions to United States. And the reason is because America is the aggressive party here. So the aggressive party has lost. America has lost, so they have no say whatsoever. Iran is the winner, and they have all the cards, and they call all the shots. So Iran does not need to, you know, capitulate or surrender on any of their core issues. So let's talk about the next story. So there's a story here with Milei. So Milei, if you know what's happening in Argentina, people are eating rubbish. People are going through bins, eating rubbish, basically. There's no meat in Argentina. People are eating donkey meat. Argentina used to be famous for its cow meat. He's destroyed the economy. There's inflation of around 50% at the moment. The economy is going crazy. There's more and more people turning into poverty. So what does Milei do? He goes to Israel and he makes a fool out of himself. And look, in front of Netanyahu, he's basically he reminds me of that South Korean leader who used to sing in front of Biden. He's absolutely just singing and dancing, making a fool out of himself. But I don't want to just blame Milei here. I want to blame the Argentinian people. I mean, is this the president that you want, guys? I mean, is this the kind of seriousness that you are looking for somebody who can change your country, make your country better? Is this the kind of person you voted for? This tells me that the people of Argentina are very, very low IQ. If you think that suddenly this guy is going to change the the economy in Argentina, he's given away everything. He's given away Argentinian land, which were basically burnt by the Israelis at one point. I can't remember the name of the land, but they basically burnt it, and the reason they burnt it is because they wanted that land for cheap. And he's given it to them, and there's about 300,000 Israelis that are going to be moving there very soon. So they're going to be taking over that piece of land, and they're going to be taking over more land. So this guy is basically giving away all of Argentina's resources, land, you name it, oil and gas contracts to the Americans, giving whatever Trump wants, giving whatever Netanyahu wants. He's been supporting a genocide. He's been destroying his own economy. I mean, what good is this guy? Seriously, what good is he? And the people of Argentina, you got to be very, very low IQ to vote for this guy. Seriously, do better, guys. Do better. Let's talk about the next story. So this map that you see is basically it was supposed to go from India to Saudi Arabia and into Israel, and that was supposed to be the Indian, Saudi Arabian, Israeli answer to the Belt and Road. So this was signed a few years ago, and and they initially wanted to go through. If you can see, they wanted to go through the Hormuz Strait, and reach Dubai and Qatar and Bahrain, and from there using road going through Saudi Arabia all the way to Israel, and then from Israel into the Mediterranean Sea going into Europe. And that was India's lifeline to go in to sell, goods into Europe. So today, Saudi Arabia has rejected this. They said they don't want any part of it. But the reason they rejected it is because number one, because President Trump again has destroyed the relationship with Saudi Arabia. He said that MBS was an kisser, or he kisses Trump's ass. And this was extremely embarrassing for MBS. And you can see MBS has been very quiet since then. He's been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Secondly, they attacked Iran without asking Saudi Arabia and UAE. I don't think Saudi Arabia and UAE wanted this war in Iran. I think President Trump went ahead with it with advice from Israel, and he didn't consult Saudi Arabia or UAE. And so they're extremely angry about that. And thirdly, during the war, they obviously took all the Patriot missiles and THAAD systems, and they basically took it all to Israel to protect Israel. And they didn't do anything to protect Saudi Arabia or anything to protect UAE. So the Gulf countries are extremely unhappy about the conduct of President Trump and Israel in the region. And what's worse is they lost the war with Iran. They lost the Hormuz Strait, which is even worse for the GCC. This is like the worst nightmare for the GCC. So UAE's lifeline is through the Hormuz Strait. So now UAE, the port of UAE in Dubai, is going to be useless because, one of the reasons Dubai has become such a world power and an economic miracle is because of the port of Dubai. And the port of Dubai was basically a hub for the rest of the world. Lots of ships used to park in Dubai, lots of airplanes used to come into Dubai, cargo. And now that port has been blocked. The Iranians have stopped the goods coming in and out of Dubai port. So Dubai is going to be losing a lot of money, and Iranians are going to be making that money. And Dubai is finished, guys. And so is Qatar, so is Bahrain, because everything has to go through the Hormuz Strait. So the GCC countries are they are absolutely angry with Trump and with Israel. So MBS has done the right thing and cancelled this. And again, poor Modi. Modi was kissing, and he was rubbing his body up against Netanyahu one day before Israel attacked Iran, and literally was rubbing his body up like a dog, basically, against Netanyahu. He was so excited, and he got sold a dream by Netanyahu. Netanyahu said, "Okay, we're gonna attack Iran. We're gonna have regime change, and Iran's gonna be we're gonna put Shah of Iran in power, and Iran's gonna be pro-Israel, pro-America, pro-India." And Modi got really excited, and but now even Modi's dream has has collapsed, and even Indian ships are not going through the Hormuz Strait. They have been blocked, while Pakistani ships are going through. Other Muslim countries are going through, but Indian ships are basically blocked. A couple of Indian ships tried to go through, but they got shot at. And I'm hearing a story today that one Indian ship tried to go through, and it got stopped. And the captain of the Indian ship, the Indian guy, he said that we paid you. But the IRGC said, you have not paid us. So he said, we paid you in crypto. And the Iranians have confirmed that the Indian ship got scammed. Basically, another Indian guy scammed the Indian ship and into giving them $2 million for access through the Hormuz Strait. But they absolutely got scammed because these were not Iranians. They got scammed by another Indian guy. So basically, a scammer scamming another scammer, basically. Absolutely hilarious. So yeah, this goodbye to India's superpower aspirations after this. So finally, I wanted to talk about von der Leyen. Von der Leyen made a statement yesterday, and she said, in her own words, we must succeed in completing the European continent so that it's not influenced by Russia, Turkey, or China. So, first of all, is she even? I can't. This is so hilarious, guys. I can't believe it. Is she not seeing what's happening in the world right now? The way Trump is acting, the way he wants to take over Greenland, the way he's starting wars in countries like Iran, and he wants to now take over Cuba. You know, does she not see what Trump is doing around the world? And she suddenly thinks that Russia and China are enemies. So one new country she put in the list is Turkey. So why did she put Turkey in the list? Because she never spoke bad about Turkey before. So why suddenly Turkey is in the list? I'll tell you why. It's because of Israel. Israel has said that the next target after Iran is Turkey. So, and the reason Israel is making Turkey a target is because Turkey controls the northern part of Cyprus, and Israel wants Cyprus, by the way, because a lot of Israelis are moving to Cyprus. So they want Cyprus, and Turkey has taken over northern parts of Cyprus, so that's a problem for them. And also, Turkey controls a lot of Syria as well, because Jelani and all of that is supported by the Turkish government. So Turkey is a big problem for Israelis' global ambitions and the Greater Israel project. I think Turkey is going to be a big problem for them. So they've already started, basically pushing this anti-Turkey thing around the world, especially to America, and now it's reached Europe. And now von der Leyen, as a puppet of Israel and America, she's now following that lead, and she's saying Turkey is now enemy of Europe, even though Turkey is a NATO member and maybe a future European member because they're still in the waiting list. She still thinks Turkey is the enemy because Israel told her so. So it just goes to show that the Europeans have got no sovereignty whatsoever. They're basically controlled by America and controlled by Israel. And the fact that she can say these things shows that they're basically still under control. They have no sovereignty whatsoever. And the fact that they still think Russia and China are the enemies, especially when America is basically starting world wars, they're crippling the European economy as well. So because all this stuff that's happening in the Hormuz Strait is basically crippling Europe. Europe has only got about 30, 40 days left of oil and gas. So whatever America's doing is destroying Europe. But then she refuses to make America an enemy, or she refuses to say anything bad about America. Absolutely crazy, guys. Anyway, that's all for today. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.